All right, hey, good morning, folks. We are going to continue our commission book cover for Enraven the Shatterer, a third-tier adventure for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, created by Andy Headley, the old goat, also the co-writer for my Eberron adventure that I do cartography and creature token for on Mondays and Thursday nights. So check up on the stream there. Andy pops by occasionally. You can catch him anytime. He does a lot of Cthulhu stuff. Yeah, so hold on, let me check my signal here real quick, and then we're going to get to work. I'm really excited about this. So, let's see. Mic check, 1, 2, 3. Mic check, mic check, mic check, mic check. 1. Fabulous. Solid signal. Okay, I'm going to have a quick intro spiel here. So, folks that are new to the stream, you can skip ahead like maybe 2 minutes, and then we'll be getting into the thick of it. So, here's our intro for those that are new. Hey, my name is Phil Kearney. I create role-playing games, I illustrate them, and then I publish them online. I focus my attention on Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, and there are a slew of links in the description down below that point to other books that I've created in the past. All the covers of those books are other book covers that I have created, and I occasionally take some commissions. So I stream 6 days a week, Monday through Friday in the morning. I do book art on Monday and Thursday nights. I do cartography on Tuesdays. Mondays, Tuesdays, and Friday lunches, I do game mechanic development. And on Saturdays, I do personal projects and commissions. So currently, Andy recruited me to build a book cover for his new adventure. And so that's a commission that we're working on right now. When that's finished, I'll either have another commission in the hopper that I'll begin, or I'll just be working on my own stuff, which could be other book covers or whatever. It could be anything. So let's see. Check if you think the books are cool. You're a D&D enthusiast, then consider making a purchase to support the growth of the channel. And I've just posted on Twitter that I am live, so if you want to follow me on Twitter, you certainly can, at Phil Kearney. And best way to support the channel overall, though, currently is like, subscribe, hit the bell icon to help give me some lift in the algorithms. My first major goal for the channel is 500 subscribers. So if you think that we have some fun today and you want to check out my other stuff, or if you want to swing by a few times to make sure you like the cut of my jib, I'd love to have your support and hear from you down in the chat. So folks that are in the future, hey, welcome back. So we're going to continue our book cover here. This is a massive 70 by 50 foot by 50 foot, well, 70 by 70 by 50 foot weapon that would comfortably sit in a 2 by 2 space at the 50 foot scale if you were using my vehicle mechanics that I stream on Mondays and Thursday mornings. So swing by there for some tech ideas for your own campaigns. But so this is a 70-foot structure. It's a construct made out of living flesh. I'm pretty happy with the line art that we have here. I'm liking the composition of the environment overall. What we need to do now is to add life, as it were, to the musculature that builds this structure, and give it some drippy goredness to it to make it feel properly abysmal. Once that's done, we'll integrate the rest of this foreground into the composition as a whole, and then we'll build out the portal. Basically the thing fires a black hole interdimensionally to any location across the multiverse that it can perceive, whether like through scry effects or whatever. If it can see it, it can hit the target, and when it does, it opens up a black hole that destroys everything around it inside that space. And we have this like blowout effect here with the trees around it in the forest, like this tree's crushing this house. Happy little village. Anyway, so this thing creates a rip in reality that it can then step through or hold open and let troops or anyone else go through either way. So it's like a boom tunnel from DC Comics, but it causes damage to the area around it where it arrives. So super cool. Let's see. So yeah. So okay, great. So we've got we have the construct broken into 2 layers here. The backfill color and the line art. So what we're going to do currently is I'm going to duplicate the line art layer and make the other one disappear. And we're just going to paint directly into the line art that we created. So I'm going to grab a round brush for the paint and eraser. Interesting line I have split here. I think I copied and rotated the circle at some point. So again, we haven't finished the portal, so that's okay. We'll finish the creature, we'll finish the portal, we'll finish the foreground, then we'll work out the font for the text, make sure that the color background is the appropriate one. We may do like force energy highlighting the text so it blares, like it flares out black, white into red. That could work. I'll get Andy's feedback about that. I'll put out some ideas for him to sample off of, and whatever makes sense to him, that's what we'll do. We can switch the background from black to something else. Like there's a lot of like we can even make the black we can make the background red and instead use white and black lettering if we wanted to. There's a lot of different ways we could play with it. So we don't have to worry about it right now. Regardless of what we do, the energy portal and the shatter weapon is going to aren't going to, and the foreground won't be changed by those decisions. So we can sally forth, tally ho is what I'm trying to say together. Okay, so I don't think white bone is appropriate for this thing. I actually want to use black and white here. I want to use black bones because the rest of the structure has red. It's a really dark red, but it's still red. So when bone is poking out, I think I want to use black, and then we'll be able to use these same highlight colors or whatever makes sense for highlighting and make it pop out. So we're going to be doing this for the next hour and a half, maybe? Something like that. So I'm not sure how quickly we're going to get done. I'm just going to try filling in where the horns and spikes and bones are at. Just working through the piece one stage at a time, breaking down large projects into smaller, more digestible components helps provide the dopamine release of success, which is something I talk about a lot, and I'll probably, I guess, talk about it a bit more right now. I'm going to switch to my normal cloud smudge brush. It normally does the job for us. We're already at a 90% strength, so it's more pulling pixels than smudging them. But yeah, so I guess I talk a lot about sculpting dopamine on this channel. Didn't realize that's what we would do, but I guess it's a message that needs to be heard. Otherwise, I wouldn't be saying it. So what we're talking about is chemical addiction, dopamine addiction inside of a person. Do I want to merge down? Do I want to merge the actual background into this piece? Do I want to do that? Science point. Hold on, I'm having a thought. Let's duplicate that. Yeah, let's do that. LaFou, I'm afraid I've been thinking. A dangerous pastime, I know. Let's do that. Okay, so now that these are merged together, I can get rid of all of these overall. And the base color being red is appropriate anyway, and I'm basically painting over and smudging through everything as I go. So I don't think I should actually have a problem with things being bound, but I did notice that while I was pushing this socket, for lack of a better word, that it was only dragging the line art. It wasn't pulling the color with it. So I'm like, that's going to happen over and over again. You can already see it all throughout here. It's going to happen over and over again. So just bonding those all together is probably the best solution for our production right now. And I kept the layers separated so I can always mask a redo over them wherever necessary. I don't want to get hyper focused in. Yeah, that's like good enough for now. I love this song. Yeah, there's a signal coming through. Give me a second. I want to step aside. How's my opacity up here? Okay. One more moment. Okay, so I talk about dopamine and how an artist has a more present relationship with the chemicals that our body produces to compel behavior, which is mainly dopamine. It's the thing that provides pleasure and satisfaction to your body. It's the chemical that acknowledges good boy. So dopamine is a response trigger of pleasure that can be stimulated by virtually anything that you assign value of pleasure to. Like for example, runners can get a high by running because they tax their body to the point where they've taught themselves to become addicted to the pleasure of the exhaustion chemicals flowing through them as they sustain long runs. In this instance, what we're talking about is the satisfaction that people receive from social recognition, which is provided easily through social media. Easily if you are doing things that people like on social media, and the platform will change what that is from platform to platform. So in regards to artists with social media, artists become addicted to posting art for likes, and you'll see this with influencers as well. Likes equals money, so the secondary gain that you get off of audience is revenue. So what happens then is you need the revenue. It comes through social media engagement and likes. So you then link your lifestyle and survival to receiving likes. So influencers get hooked on likes and audience size because it's providing all the creature comforts that they desire. And it gives them the attention that they need. And I'm not saying that all influencers and streamers are narcissistic. Hi. But their goal is to grow their audience because they get more revenue from it. And a lot of those that stick with it enjoy performance. Like artists, like actors gotta act, musicians gotta play, painters gotta paint, sculptors gotta sculpt. And the influencer streamer space is a meta, how to put it? It's a meta social space where performance is tied with whatever other task you're performing, or essentially whatever task you enjoy performing becomes a performance. So social media streamers, let's just go with streamers. Streamers are creating a performance relationship with the growth of their channel or their revenue, which can interrupt or supersede the craft that they were demonstrating or performing. I guess that's the right way of putting it. That the performance begins to supersede the craft that's being performed in the first place. I watch Asmongold, and Asmongold is he got famous through WoW content, and because he was a leader in WoW, and then he started branching out and playing other games. But now he'll do reaction videos. He'll just watch whatever drama's unfolding in the world right now and offer his feedback and point of view about what those are. Sniper Wolf, similar, offers point of view got famous playing video games and commenting on video games. But as the audience grows, the craft becomes less important, and it's the performance that's creating the lifestyle and the revenue. And it becomes easier to respond. Like reaction videos are easier because you aren't crafting the content that is being responded to. But that's a somewhat tangential conversation about the growth of fame over time. But it's still relevant because we're talking about the dopamine trigger response that you get and how social media manipulates that pleasure reaction of success. Because dopamine is it's the pleasure drug, it's the pleasure chemical in your body, but it's the success chemical. It rewards the behavior that you train your body to release dopamine for. And so social media, with its likes and its followers and its revenue, that has its own dopamine feedback loop, because the more followers you have, the more you're getting attention to. There's that narcissistic strain, again, of demanding attention from those around you. But it is also tied to revenue. So it's a self-feedback loop of rewarding narcissistic behavior and attention seeking, which we're seeing like Johnny Somali, for example, being arrested in Japan for being belligerent and ignoring laws because he wanted attention. So, like they say, fuck around and find out. That's the wrong color. So for an artist, getting back to the point, for artists, when you post a picture that you've created and you get likes, you're receiving that dopamine kick. I laughingly joke that's what leads people into doing porn, because cheesecake gets more likes and more looks than, of course, anything else, because you're offering smut. Of course people are going to look at it. It's cheesecake. Enjoy. Fan service. So that's just the nature. That's just the nature of the internet. So if you program yourself to create something for the intention of getting likes, it's not the art that you're serving, it's the attention you receive from the social media audience that you're performing for. The craft becomes performance because the result that you seek is attention. Being looked at, being watched, having attention. So let's compare that. I'm 50, so I started becoming serious about illustration in the 80s, the late 80s. I was in my teens, and I got into role-playing games and saw amazing artwork, and I was already a doodle bug. I was already pre-programming myself to enjoy being an artist, an illustrator, because that's how I spent the... Because, okay, so quick side note here. I'm legally blind, right? I don't see any color, and because I don't have any cones in my retinas. Cones control both color information, which I have none of, and it also controls resolution. The resolution of my environment that I can see through my eyes at different distances, and I don't have the ability to, like, my resolution is like 72 dpi while everyone else is like on 4K. So I have a severe limit on like trying to see things far away. They just become cloudy and pixelated and unclear and smudged. I can't see it. So as a child, I can't read text on a chalkboard. And so what would end up happening is I would get bored in class because I couldn't engage the content. This led me to doodling. Doodling became a focus throughout my entire childhood because it was a small space with a pen that I could, even though I had to hold the page like this close to my face, I could still get the pen in past my nose. And this became a controlled space that I could dictate what happens inside of, while everything outside of that space, I had very limited information about what was happening. And as a kid, that's a hostile space, especially during recess when kids can be trapped by other kids without supervision. So drawing became a safe space for me, and when I couldn't tell what was going on in the classroom and on the chalkboard, it was a place for me to check out. Otherwise, I'm just basically staring at pixels. And, you know, that's really, really boring. So I just got into the habit of doing sketches all the time on, you know, during class. And so there was no internet at that time. I would occasionally turn to my peer group and, you know, and say, hey, here's a picture that I did. And they're like, yeah, that's pretty cool, Phil. Good job. So that's the only praise that I would get off of from anyone that was around me. But the less they know me personally, the less they cared. So I could only get a very limited punch of dopamine from performance prior to the internet. So all of the artists that evolved before the internet, all of us illustrators, sculptors, painters, whatever, the crafting art instead of, because there's crafting and there's performance, right? So crafting artists don't receive any recognition for creating a piece for the most part, unless they get to a place where they're selling it in a gallery or something, in which case, you know, they're just selling content. But there's very little instances where crafters received any kind of dopamine for performance. Even like Bob Ross is a performing crafter, but he didn't have feedback. He didn't have real-time feedback unless he went on tour, in which case he is performing by creating a craft. So that's like a very early instance of merging craft with performance. So go Bob Ross, you superstar. But most of us crafting artists never receive that performance praise or recognition. So why do we keep producing the art? Because we have linked our sense of satisfaction and success not to external feedback, but to the things that we create inside of that crafting space. For a person like me with limited ability to engage my environment around me and receiving virtually no praise for... I love it when there's lightning in Seattle. I don't know if you guys heard that, but there is a... Hold on, see if I can catch it on stream. There is a... Hold on, see if I can catch it on stream. There is a... Of merging craft... producing our external feed for a person and love it. There's even virtually limited ability to engage my environment around me and receiving virtually no praise for. There it is. You guys could hear it. There's lightning. Oh my God! There's so. Okay, so I'm in the Pacific Northwest, right? I'm in Seattle, and you guys heard that. Okay, there we go. And there is it's all seaborne ocean water that it ends up being the weather that we get, the water delusion that just dumps on us is just coming off of the ocean. So there's rarely any kind of static buildup. Very little ozone collection there, so we very rarely have any thunder or lightning during our rains. So it's awesome when we get to hear it. Completely got me by surprise. I grew up in Missouri, and in Missouri, it's just Tornado Alley, and endless storms and lots of ozone accumulation. Thunderstorms, lightning storms, very, very common in the Midwest, and they are gorgeous. It is the one thing that I miss the most about being in the Midwest is the storms. I love the rain, but I miss the storms. Oh my God, that's so cool. Ironically, in Arizona, down in Phoenix in the desert, there's lightning and thunderstorms, but no rain. Because the amount of static electricity that builds up in the dryness of it is what sparks off all, as I understand it. I'm no scientist, but as I understand it, it's that dry energy that creates the static charge that causes all of the lightning strikes, and of course the boom comes from the lightning itself. the spark of electricity moving at the speed of light, followed by the thunder, which is the sound of the lightning being created. Boom. There you go. Anyway, sorry. Huge tangent there. Thank you. That was wonderful to receive. All right, I'll have to get back on track here in a moment. So, okay, great. Yeah, so we were talking about dopamine and crafting and prior to the internet. So you get no recognition for the things that you create. So there's absolutely no there. I mean, other than whoever's the most important, like your girlfriend or your parents or whatever, girlfriend/partner, whatever. Anyway, you're going to have a very, very, very small audience for the most part to provide you praise. But for like a little kid being praised for art, that's compelling because your parents are your universe when you're a little child, and as that grows, the praise that you get from your parents, because like I was 5 years old when I started doing doodles, right? And they were like, "Yeah, good boy, good job, Phil, staying quiet, play with your paper and pencils." And so hold on. Oh, that's a dew claw off the back of the back of the forearm here. That deserves respect. There we go. So, but I'm still compelled to do art. Initially, because there's a lack of praise coming from your peer group for the things that you create, you want to receive that praise again. So I think initially it does start off as performance. I'm backlogging here my memory about experiences and feelings. So what I think is happening here is initially it was praise, but the audience was so small that if you only have an audience of like say 5 that can praise you for your artwork, how are you going to continue feeding that dopamine kick? You can't realistically, in the 80s, you can't realistically increase the size of your audience. So what do you have to do? You have to continue to compel praise from the limited audience that you actually do have. And how are you going to continue soliciting praise? By improving your craft. So before the internet, the only way we could gain praise from our peers was by continually improving our ability. We have to come back with something better than before. Otherwise, they just start losing the wow factor, and we aren't getting the praise from our severely small peer group. So what does that mean? That means that our secondary gain is the praise from the 3 or 4 people in our life that we could potentially get praise for the artwork that we produce. So that means that where we're going to then start gaining our reward for production is from actually crafting itself, because crafting is the only reliable source of praise in the set, because the praise is secondhand. Social media switches that. Streaming creates praise and interaction and attention in real time directly right now, like with Karen. Hey, Karen. Karen has now provided me, if I'm addicted to social media's feedback loops in my dopamine, Karen has just given me a jolt of juice because she showed up and said hi. Thanks for being here, Karen. I really appreciate it. But people that grew up and started crafting art before the internet existed wouldn't have this opportunity. So I'm not going to get a performance kick from creating my next painting. I'm just creating more paint. And when they're done, I can put them out there and maybe people will pay attention to them, maybe they won't. But that's the challenge that we had to face. So the only way we could gain peer praise was through improving our art. So improving our art becomes our primary form of receiving dopamine, because the secondary gain of, if I do a good job with this painting, I will receive more clout and praise from my peers or idols. So we then us earlier artists, us older artists, had to link that dopamine feed into actually crafting the art, pushing ourselves to become better or to become faster or greater is where that pleasure comes from, is where the dopamine release comes from. So when I hit something, like when I absolutely nail an angle or a curve, or like it's one and done, all these things trigger dopamine releases inside of me because it's part of the crafting skill set I need to be able to become a better artist overall, which over decades I've tricked my body system into releasing dopamine as I craft pieces. And I've just been noticing over the past 2 years when I've been streaming how that performance is starting to modify my dopamine, and that allows me to see social media engagement, artists creating art and posting it online and not being motivated to push through long, difficult projects with an incredibly delayed satisfaction of praise from the audience. That's where that AI bug comes from, because that AI bug allows you to click a button, create something unique, post it online. Look what I made, Dad. And Dad's like, yeah, good job, kid. But everyone's like, it's AI. It doesn't take any effort for you to do that. So you're not getting you don't get the same dopamine kick more than once or twice once it starts being revealed that this is just AI and you press a button for it, because no one respects being able to just press a button to produce a result. Respect comes from effort that other people can't produce or apply or have the discipline to do, which is why being fit always earns respect, while also beauty earns respect, because you can't, it's different. Like if you're born with beauty, that is just an asset that you won the lottery on, and people will always be envious of how easily that was given to you. Fitness, like wealth or skill, is accumulated over time, unless it's just given to you because you're like a welfare baby or something, or a grant. What's the word? A trust fund baby. There you go. Hold on. You owe nothing to me, Karen. Of course, it's you come and go as you please. When I eventually bore you, you will disappear forever, and I will have appreciated the time that we spent together. This is the way. This is the way. Let's get this back claw here into this. So the problem that young artists have now is they are unaware of the difference between crafting and performance. When you're posting stuff online, you're performing. When you're streaming like this, I'm performing. But the performance is the craft. What happens when I get to 200, 400,000 followers? Is my dopamine going to switch so that I'm spending more time on reaction videos and offering my opinion and advice? Or am I going to continue painting all the time? I can see how that flips. Like at some point, offering DMs advice to people that want it is more valuable than watching me push pixels, unless my audience are all artists that want to see how I push pixels, because they are learning, that it's helping them learn their craft too. Like what is my performance is hinging on what can I do for you? How valuable am I to you? And I think a lot of the value, honestly, I think a lot of the value that I provide during these streams is just the insights that I have about my experiences, primarily as a DM, because I talk about DMing advice a lot during the pixels. But currently the objective, like the objective of this channel for me, is to create art, to make sure that I'm not alone in isolation for a year while I'm painting, because painting is a very lonely craft. So I used to be part of a drink and draw social club where a bunch of artists would go to a pub with sketchbooks, and we would, sketch, paint, or whatever. Like people using Krita or Clip Studio would bring their tablet and paint that way. But as the social group continued to grow, it started branching out, and then non-artists were showing up because they were just tag-along friends, hey, we're going to go out do some drink and draw. Do you want to tag along? You know, whatever. So the social group kept expanding. And after a while, I was the only one that was doing any kind of artwork. Everyone else was just drinking, and, you know, it was just basically a large clique of going to the pub. But the reason I allotted that time and made the excuse that I can invest that time because I was still doing sketch work. I was still doing ideation on my next book. It was productive down cycle time with the benefit of a social kick attached to it. But my goal was, I've got 200 pages worth of content to produce, and I have no idea how long it's going to take. So I need to freaking get after this. But the more I get after it, the less social time I have. So I become totally isolated inside of this art space. So that's psychologically damaging for a Phil. So the solution that I came up with during all of that is to start stream my artwork, because it at least allows me to bark at people and listen to music and do all the things that I would normally be doing here on my own by myself, listening to music and painting. But this also helps make sure that I keep painting, because I now have a camera pointing at me, basically monitoring my hours of activity. And then the reward that comes along with it is bumping into new people. Like life happens every day. I enjoy this. Yeah, right on. So yeah, having discussions with people. This is that bar, that drinking aspect of the drink and draw, where I have an opportunity to catch up with people that become regulars, and we, you know, shoot the shit and talk about what's going on. And it's at this level, and at this level, it's fairly one-on-one interactive. It's like that sweet spot of the beginning that apparently that large stream content creators end up lamenting that they've lost, but of course they don't want to start over anonymously from scratch, because they're gaining ridiculous amounts of money for being large streamers. So why would you ever want to give that up? It's creating job security for you for your thoughts, which is amazing. I don't even think Greek philosophers had it so good. They were probably farmers. I honestly don't know what Aristotle did when he wasn't Aristotling. But we're talking about that dopamine. So the new artists that are steeped in social media have a more immediate feedback loop from things that they create, and they don't necessarily, they have a more direct feedback about what is going to get me more likes. Same amount of effort, different content equals different amounts of likes. That's sculpting an audience or being in tune with the audience that you connect with. So that's why all social media leads to porn, because that's going to give you that'll always give you the most attention, whether positive or negative. Which is why I think there's so many Patreons with cheesecake artwork that are making 5 digits a month because people want that cheesecake. And if that's how you want to make your revenue, then, you know, modern world allows you to do that and will provide you with easy reward for having done so. And this is all to say that it becomes difficult if you get addicted to the social praise instead of the craft. It becomes difficult for a new artist to retain attention and diligence to up their game, because they don't have to necessarily pursue improving their art like 80s kids had to. Like, again, if we want to get any kind of attention, we have to improve our art, because the same small pool of praise that we get becomes less and less impressed if you don't improve your craft. It's like, that's Jimmy, this is the same. Why can't you figure feet out, Jimmy? What is wrong with you? It's like, oh crap, I only have 4 people that'll praise me, and now one of them hates my feet. I have to improve my feet. You see how that works? That's the feedback loop that you get. But when your feedback loop is literally billions of people, you could potentially just shift what you're doing without actually, like, shift the content that you're producing without actually improving the quality of your craft. And once you get to a certain level of quality that's acceptable or aesthetically pleasing, there's a strong risk of a social media performer not improving their craft at all anymore. Such as I mentioned about like Asmongold spending a lot of time not streaming WoW, but just offering feedback and opinions about what's happening in the world, because the audience size is so great. That's easier content to produce than to farm WoW for 20 hours or whatever. So I've seen and follow enough large streamers to know that I need to be very specific about how I'm going to use this channel, because it's going to sculpt my rate of growth, the type of people that subscribe to my channel, and what sort of performance am I going to provide to retain and grow my audience. Currently, I'm a painter, but I'm also a game designer. And when I have, like during the week, when I can scrape out new pieces, I work on the Martial Powers game system that I've been developing. Why? Because that gets, honestly, my Martial Powers streams get more likes and attention than any other artwork that I produce. See, I'm already in my own example. It's not smut, but only because I'm making a conscious decision to not make smut. But I'm already showing in my own, I've already bent my behavior by whenever I have any free time to stream and it's not part of a normal schedule, it's going to be Martial Powers, because that's what people seem to be most interested in, because the debate between spellcasters and martial characters being uneven, that is a hot topic these days, especially with the redesign or the revisions of the 5e classes for Dungeons and Dragons. It's an opportunity to have a conversation about what is good design, what is good character balance, what is the power fantasy each character class is supposed to be fulfilling, and does it do its job? What needs to be changed about it? These are all things that are being hotly debated. They're always being hotly debated, but especially right now, because we feel there's an opportunity to move, to change what is being produced. Like what content Wizards will be providing to us in the future, we have this feeling that we can somehow influence it, which is absolutely not true. Well, it is to an extent. If Reddit doesn't upvote the most recent playtest, they throw away whatever new ideas are in it, and they just go back to the normal 5e. Like, if you don't think new ideas are exciting, we're not going to offer any new ideas, because as has been discussed on this and many another stream, it appears that Wizards is under a deadline to produce something, regardless of quality, in time for the 50-year anniversary for Dungeons and Dragons. Even if it's unnecessary or it's garbage, it doesn't matter. It's a marketing ploy. So they have to provide something that can be marketed as new and exciting, which means that it's potentially not going to be exciting. But that's an interesting point. Even a multi-billion-dollar corporation like this is completely being influenced by the likes that their current craft is getting. So this one D&D playtesting stuff is like a really huge proof of concept about how a craft is influenced by the performance that it receives, right? By its audience reception when it's offered as a performance. Like, they didn't have to outsource this stuff to the crowdsourcing. They could just have quietly on their own built out a new edition of the game. I love that thunder. God, it feels so good. That is wonderful. And then said, here's the new edition, pretty much like what they did with 4th edition and 5th edition. It's like, here's some, here's some documents for you guys to play with. We're going to print with this stuff. But this edition now in 2024, it's what's going to make you happy. What can we do to make you a happy customer? Because that's the kind of game we want to produce. Like this is the first edition that they've completely flipped the script on that, and no one's happy. Absolutely no one is happy because Wizards isn't leading. They are seeking acceptance, and it smells bad. Like, D&D is the industry leader. It is the de facto assumed first experience with a role-playing game. Like, it is the zeitgeist. It has literally woven the fiber of the role-playing game community since the 70s, and they are no longer leading. It is a recurring theme in entertainment corporations these days to not be leading off of their own values, but to be influenced by the values of others to determine what they will or won't do. And it is absolutely backfiring across the board. It's fascinating. Yes. Yeah, they have absolutely lost their place. They lost all the authority that they had acquired over the course of 50 years by being Dungeons and Dragons, by being the leader of, like, this is how we're building our game. We think this is good game design. And it's obvious Wizards doesn't know what good game design is because they keep asking us, is this good game design? It's like, why are you asking a bunch of casuals? Like, you make $200,000 a year to decide what Wizards is going to do. You can't tell if this is good content or not? You're fucking ridiculous. I don't remember who said it, but it was funny. I enjoyed hearing it when I said it. The only thing that people want more than to have their opinion heard is to be led. Sorry, that's not to be told what to think. And that's such a funny truth. You see that with like fanatics of comic books or teams or celebrities, streamers, content studios. A content studio / streamer that's popular will put out an idea that they think is cool, and then their fan base will fall in love with whatever it is that their favorite streamer said and take that as this is the way it should be, and then will incorporate that opinion into their own opinions, and then they will defend that opinion as though it was their own because they took ownership of that other person's opinion. So they wanted to look to somebody they respect to offer them an opinion. They decided that they should just agree with that opinion. And now they can parrot back that opinion as their own. So in this sequence, the first thing that they wanted was to be told what to think. And now that they know what to think, they can think that for themselves. And now when they say it, they feel like they're the one that's being praised for having said it. Not owning back to, like, they can own back to MCDM as their source of magic. Like, yeah, MCDM gave me this opinion. I love it. And if you don't agree with his opinion, then I am your enemy because his opinions are mine. Or like Pathfinder. You should play Pathfinder instead of D&D. Because the people that say that stuff are Pathfinder fanatics. And they want the game that they've become addicted to become your favorite game too. And they are angry that it isn't. So they're going to tell you to play the game that they want you to become addicted to whenever you have a complaint about the game that they are not addicted to. See how that works? I'm singling out Pathfinder and MCDM, but I think their fan base is probably the loudest community. Or like Critters. Piss off a Critter. Like criticize Critical Role, Matt Mercer. Even if their Tal'Dorei games are utter garbage mechanics, they're adored by their fan base. So they can sell content even if it's garbage content. Wizards was that way until they pissed off their fan base with this OGL garbage. They broke their fans' faith in them. So now they're kind of running around looking for someone else to give them an opinion. It's wonderful. I'm talking a lot of shit about a lot of studios right now, so don't mind me. I'm just going to sit here and probably stay small forever. But these are things, see, I have an opportunity here to look at how these things unfold in multiple industries. For me to be able to like see what's good behavior and what isn't good behavior, what's being sculpted by an audience, and what is that doing to your craft, your end result. So as I'm looking at wanting to grow my channel, okay, so let's be perfectly honest. The reason I want to grow my own channel here is because I don't have, like, as far as I can tell, it's the best way to market Kickstarter books. Like, people that are popular streamers but not necessarily good designers sell a shitload of books during a Kickstarter because their fans love them. So what's the best way for me to be able to sell books in the future? Have fans. What's the best way for me to have fans? Engage them in social interactions like streaming. How am I going to retain them? Honestly, I think probably the only way I'm going to be able to sleep at night during this process is being as sincere as I can about what I'm doing. If I say it, I got to own it. It's what I say. Because with AI and everything else, as I said before, integrity is becoming a commodity. And so if I can do a good job here and retain truth to what I'm actually trying to achieve, which is not be alone during projects that take a year to complete. Like if I wasn't, getting back to the point, if I wasn't streaming, I would have been in isolation, no contact, physical, social contact, without guilt for the entire production process of these books. Social media is allowing me an opportunity to have interaction with people, to stay engaged socially while performing my craft. Painting is very lonely by nature, but I am compelled to do it. It's because it's how I've built my dopamine to reward me for producing artwork. When I was lonely as a child, the only praise I could receive was that for myself. I was alone almost all the time. So me getting feedback from others wasn't going to happen. So I had to learn how to basically provide my own praise and to build my own feedback loop, which I think by design gave me the dopamine kick for completing a piece. When I look at it, it's like, I know that's better than my previous work. I can provide myself with that dopamine praise. Social media steals that from you. I can already feel the wearing down of dopamine from craft versus getting, like hitting a new high in an engagement of like say 92 people looking at my stuff in a day. Like that's a new high for me. So that immediately provided me a dopamine kick of, hey, you must have done a really good job. Congratulations. It's like, oh no, wait, I got boosted by, like Taryn boosted me up. So it's not like I actually earned those 92 views out of people seeing my stuff and leading to it. It was, I got a lift from an ally. And thank you, Taryn, for when you do send people over to me, because that's the only way getting recommended either by the YouTube algorithm or by somebody else. But it put a quick damper on how did I get this increased praise, right? How did I earn this additional attention? Then you start to see why influencers do collaborations and why those collaborations are generally done with people with the same number of followers. Because if you're doing collaborations with smaller influencers or smaller channels, that's actually called charity, because it's a disproportionate exchange. If a larger content creator has a dopamine kick of providing opportunities for smaller creators to grow, if that provides them a charitable, like that charity kick of like, you made a donation that's going to make a difference, so you feel proud of yourself, that is a form of dopamine that is being fed into your system for good behavior that you've trained yourself to believe is good behavior. So thus, you deserve a reward. So I started this to be able to endure the amount of isolation I knew that would occur as a result of building these books. So having an opportunity for me to have engagement with other people was the only solution I could find to keep me from eventually bailing on the project. But again, at the same time, I can see all of these, like how all this interaction affects streamers and the craft that they produce. So I think I have the opportunity to see that because I came in on this with the intention of sustaining the craft, not building an audience. But then over the course of the past few years of doing this, I'm then also recognizing this is actually the most powerful marketing tool that a creator can produce for having more people see what it is that they're doing. So there's going to be a natural transition between craft and performance. It's already happening with me, like I was talking about with the martial powers development being my default choice when I have free time to stream more than I usually do. Interesting stuff, I think. Hey, what's up? WotC needs others to fill the void eventually. Yes, they will. WotC needs to return to their roots. Then they will win back their fans they have left. Yes, well, I mean, yes. So what is that? What's WotC's roots? What's WotC's roots? Not being a subsidiary of a public traded company. They are a corporation. They are a publicly traded corporation now. I know WotC didn't start that way. Then they became a publicly traded company. Then they merged with Hasbro, another publicly traded company. They would have to divest from being a stock traded company for them to be able to properly return to their roots. Because stock market is the ultimate expression of social media revenue. Your stock value is literally worth however many people are willing to buy it. Your worth is how happy your stockholders are, your audience, your actual audience. So they have to go back to being an independent producer that is focused on crafting their art and receiving praise through sales of their craft. Currently, they are a performer with an audience of stockholders, and their primary job is to entertain their patrons. And currently, it's been through crafting books that people purchase. But you're right; they're losing their purpose. Creating a virtual tabletop platform environment where the company is receiving subscription revenue is a significant step away from being praised for crafting. You're now instead creating a social space. You're being given revenue for a social space. So your motivation is to improve that social space, virtual tabletop environment, what's the word I'm looking for? God, my words. Integration. Thank you. Character integration, uploading map content, selling you additional perks and I don't know, I guess potentially fancy digital dice. These are things that are marketplace. These are social. These are social environment tools, not crafting tools. They aren't rules. They don't improve the game. And so, as a crafter, as a crafting roots company, a role-playing game, they are divesting from crafting and using their craft for social and get like when I like for example, when I'm on social, when I'm on the Martial Powers project, and I'm in the stage of fishing for which bonus powers to grant an archetype or subclass, right? They get their list of 10 powers. 3, 5, 9, 13, 17. Whenever they gain a new rank of power, they gain 2 bonus powers depending on which archetype subclass they've chosen, right? So while I'm building that out, I will often ask the audience, hey, if there's something that you see that you think is right that I haven't seen yet, shout out and let me know. Because if I didn't see it, I'm open to what you guys think those ideas are. That's me outsourcing my craft to my audience, similar to how Wizards is currently outsourcing 5th edition to their audience, because they're seeking buy-in and engagement. Like, you said this was good, so you should be buying it, right? Well, when I go through that process, I will argue and push back at suggestions if I don't feel, if they're great suggestions. Thanks, I didn't see that because I just literally hadn't seen it yet. But I'm not asking people, hey, here's my idea about how I think rage should work for a barbarian using martial powers. What do you think? It's like, no, I have a very specific idea as a crafter of what I think rage should grant you as a barbarian using the martial power system. I'm not outsourcing your opinion. Do you think this is good for rage? And it's like, no, this is what rage does. I'm confident it's the right thing to do. If you use it, you'll like it too. And like the Spelljammer book that I illustrate in the morning, like I have very specific alterations to like duration of air, like how long an air envelope will last, or like how air gets used up, the speed of ships, yada yada yada. There's a ton of little mechanical niggly bits that I made alterations to, because that's what I know, that product, that craft, that piece that I'm building, I know that's a component that it's going to require for it to work well. I don't need to outsource that idea to you. But like picking 10 things on a list is like, yeah, I can outsource that and use that as interaction with people, because I'm combing things for ideas, and if I wasn't looking at something correctly, I might pass over it. While someone else that's looking at stuff might be like, oh yeah, this exploit's perfect. Did you see that? No, I did not see that. And then I'll go back to that exploit, I'll look at it, I'll mull it over, and I'll either agree and add it, or I'll disagree and skip it, but always appreciate that they're pointing it out, because they're engaging with the content. Thank you. Which is why I like people, calling me on, like if I have Nitro Serum is awesome at this. Like if he's concerned that my colorblind eyes have betrayed me about what color I'm using at a particular time, he's like, hey, did you intend for those things to be the same, or did you intend that color to be blank? And like if it's and he's caught me a couple of times where I had fucked up and hadn't realized it. What I don't want, though, is for people to be second guessing the decisions that I make. But how would you know, right? Like, you're second guessing the choice that I made because you suspect that I made a mistake. And so I have to be very careful about, am I going to appreciate people calling things out, or am I going to be annoyed by it? It's like, what purpose does it serve for me? Right now, I appreciate it because I'm sloppy sometimes and I fuck stuff up, and normally I have a roster of people that I can farm out incomplete images to and say, hey, is this looking right to you? What feels wrong to you? But as I continue doing this, I'm getting that sort of response in real time, which is also why I like to stream commissions live, because it's an opportunity for my patron to step in and offer immediate feedback about what they're seeing. It's fantastic engagement. and they're paying me for my time invested in my ability to push pixels to create a result that they need for their book cover, right? So I think it's awesome to be able to be live streaming and to get their feedback directly while I do it. Whether it's here during scheduled streaming time as a performance, or if I just jump onto Discord and start streaming, sharing, doing screen share and streaming privately, which is something that I would be able to do for patrons if I get to a point where I'm like, hey, if you're at the $50 tier as a patron, you can have an hour of my time, once a month or whatever. And I can jump on stream with you and paint directly for you, or for a reduced cost, like live stream time, public, like for $30 instead of $50. We can do the same thing, but it would be live streamed, and Peanut Gallery could potentially participate. But then that's not me crafting, that's me offering feedback and opinions, right? So, but I would earn that attention, and people would be interested in purchasing that, like legitimately would want to invest that and would value it when I get to a point where people see my work and like, yeah, that's actually really good content. And I'm not there yet. I haven't proven myself that my philosophies and my game design, my ideas are solid content, probably because I just haven't had an opportunity to put out enough of it because my production time is so slow, because I paint everything on top of actually designing it. So the path that I follow is incredibly slow. I'm kind of all over the place right now. I realize I'm rambling about business at this point, which I am always a little self-conscious about. But I think these are all tying together into the social process, like the actual experience of streaming. And since I'm new to the market, what do? I analyze. That's what I do. But that's my day job. I'm an analyst. I do marketing. I do marketing analysis. There we go. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. Let's see. Do claw there, do claw there, do claw there, do claw there. Got all the spikes filled in, so that feels good. I think the next thing I get to do is let's start figuring out our sheen. So I like that. Is that the same? It feels. Or is that going to be too sharp? I think that's probably right. I just dropped gear to a 50% strength on my smudge. See how it's blending? Instead of pushing the pixels now, I'm blending them into the background, the base black of the horn. That I like that airbrush effect. It feels slick. And one of the descriptors that Andy and Brian had provided in the design of this machine is that it's slick like oil. So I want to have this. I want to have this wet feeling shine on the on these black bones. Because having like glossy surfaces like this will help sell the highlights that are down here in the sinew. So your brain will naturally reference a larger instance and then project what that larger image does to a smaller instance over here. So by doing a good job of making this super glossy here, I won't have to worry about how well the glossy fade is over on this bone here, or like this bone back here, or here. It'll have less emphasis, but that emphasis is inferred by the detail of this larger or more foreground piece. Even if it's not actually more foreground, if it's larger, it has more detail that I can potentially use to inform what assumptions your mind should make when it's looking at the other pieces. It's basically your mind's just looking for cues about how to simplify looking at this piece. Like, think for me, getting back to thinking. You want to think for your the viewer. If I can make it like, if I like when you're doing game, like oh boy, words. You'll see this when I'm doing stuff with the Spelljammer document on in the mornings, on Monday through Friday mornings, when I'm looking at, like, say, diagrams that I'm building to provide a visual reference for the text that explains different movement rules. Having that visual display there helps make it more obvious what the text is attempting to tell you, and it helps lessen the chance that you misunderstand, because you read the text and then you look at the diagram and the example of the diagram. It's providing you information about what those words mean that you read, but on top of it, it's also pre-programming for you to understand the iconography that we use inside of those diagrams. So as you see future diagrams that use different types of arrows or different, like, dotted lines and stuff, because you read the previous references for what that diagram is expressing, when you see a dotted line or a transparent arrow versus a solid line and a solid arrow, you'll know the difference between those different icons inside of the diagram automatically, even though the text is referencing what those icons mean. The current text that you're reading is trying to emphasize a new concept that builds on all of those other mechanics that you already have already learned and are integrating into your 5e game experience. Like, I'm actively expanding your mind about what you can do and how you can do it inside of the 5e engine, which is what most of my books are designed to do. Like the color mana spell point variant rules that I built were there to help brains recalibrate how spell casting can be can be resourced, and how that new formatted resource can be changed to have different magic paradigm narratives other than the 8 schools of magic, most notably the 5 color magic paradigm, as well as the elemental magic paradigm, using a spell point system that allows you to be very specific about what sort of mana resources you're using to activate different spells or powers that you have. The Spelljammer book, in the same way, is expanding your ability to narrate or craft encounters at larger scales, and how to be able to easily depict them on an actual map, and how you can have that be engaging and interesting to your players, the audience, to make them excited to have different scales of combat, or to have different types of mechanics for detecting or interacting with things. I guess that was the end of that statement. Sorry, that cloud of thought just dissipated, so I guess that was a complete idea there. I have no idea, man. It's 11. It's 11 o'clock. I'm okay. So it looks like I'm in my last 20 minutes for now. How much time do I have left? Yeah, I only got about... I have 10 minutes. I'm expecting a call about brunching, because I do love to brunch. So I've got about 10 minutes, or whenever my brunch call happens. If I get the call, then I'm going to cut stream and say goodbye. But when my alarm pops in 10, that's industry. So anyway, we have this, right? So that bone sticks out, but it's not. I think what we'll end up doing is like putting a second highlight over it, like something like that. That turned out pretty nice. I just got a dopamine kick because that curve worked well. So again, it's I didn't intentionally design my chemical factory to reward me this way. It's just something that I realized over the past number of years here that I've been streaming. Like how does my pleasure reward circuitry actually work inside of me? It's been a really interesting experience. Better highlight. Merge. Merge. Here. I've got a lot of asteroids I get to paint today, so that I'll have a new painting for us. So I'll have a new illustration for us to start working on for the Spelljammer book on Monday. So I've got probably like 3 or 4 hours worth of asteroid painting ahead of me. I shan't be doing that on stream. I only have this is the last time I'll be streaming this weekend, so I'll be back on Monday morning. But I want to get that piece done. So that's I have a lot of free time that I spend on Saturdays, but I do it specifically off stream because I want to be available for brunching or just interaction with my significant other. But Saturday is a production day for me. I typically book in about 8 hours on a Saturday. Love this song. Almost there. My alarm will pop in a few minutes. Oh, sushi's so good. I love sushi. I'm so happy to live in a coastal town because the sushi here is just amazing. I grew up in the Midwest, so sushi was always, it was very fishy. So I was like, not a lot of people resonate with sushi in the Midwest. But then I went to Japan for a week and had just endlessly good sushi. And then moved to Seattle, and it's like, oh snap, that's good sushi. So good. Now you're making me think about sushi for lunch. For that, I can only appreciate and thank you. Let's thin out this horn a bit. Good. I can thin down that edge a little bit. Good. Not perfect though. Pinch off that end. That feels pretty good. What's up? No kidding. Hey, go local Kroger. Yeah, I understand. I have many friends back in the day that would make sushi. Like a little roll thing and... It's not, I mean, the basics aren't difficult. It's a craft. Like everything else, cooking is a craft. So it's something you gotta learn the basics and then get fancy with it and then learn how to be fancier and fancier. I think of the whole sushi process, it's the like the flaying, like making the cuts, like making like really good looking cuts of nigiri. I think it's nigiri. I think that's what it is. Like just like little bricks of fish meat. That I think is the skill. Like building good cuts to lay across a little bed of rice. That is what I admire. Like each is a little food sculpture, you know? It's really cool. It's a fun craft. Like the chef skill or the chef feat that's in 5th edition. That like at the end of a long rest, you can make a batch of treats that last for 8 hours. That when eaten gives a number of temporary hit points equal to your proficiency bonus. Like you're out on the road, you don't have an oven. It's not like you're gonna make a cake. You're not gonna make cupcakes for people. I think sushi is the natural. Is the natural descriptor of what those little treats would be. There. Nice. Sorry, multiple food allergy. Ah, right on. I've developed a few recipes I knew. That's, you know what? It feels like a curse not having access to a large amount of food, but there's so much food that's in the marketplace that's like just really bad for you. It feels intolerable, but it really is what your body has to do to get what it needs. Like, I can't handle all this garbage that's out there. I have to shut you down so that you'll start getting the message that I need this, and this. And it's a pain in the ass, but I'm really glad that we are in a space that allows us to have such diversity in food, to allow us to be able to function properly, even with really restricting food limitations. My gal has a ton of food allergies, And so she's constantly adapting recipes and looking for new places to go that have a really good menu. I think it's great. I mean, it sucks, but not being able to eat sugar, what a curse. You know, like sugar is like the ultimate poison in our society right now. It's like not being able to eat that. That's such a blessing. Like I want to hang around you more so that there's no sugar. 'Cause I'll eat it. All right, that's my timer. How we doing? Yeah, we got some progress done today. Not as much as I want, but that's always the case, so I'm gonna have to get used to that. Just gonna do some quick highlights here. Maybe I'll get these things taken care of today. When I want to take a break from asteroids, I can come here and do the same thing with bones. I want to put these highlights in real quick here. The squirrels are all screaming outside. That's the sound of a squirrel screaming. It's great. Should probably make the cannon black as well, right? Uh-oh. That's a lunch Badoop. All right. Perfect. Okay, cool. I'm going to go ahead and cut here. I want to have these done before we come back next week. But when we come back next week, we'll be working on sinew and bone and continuing to work through this to make it I'm really happy so far. This is going to be a really killer piece when we finish it. So, but yeah, done for now. Be back on Monday. I'm trying to get to 500 subscribers. So if you're new to the channel, tequila, not bad. Tequila taco, man, that actually sounds really cool. Like, subscribe, bell icon. I would love to have your subscription. If you think this stuff is cool, you want to hear more about this, stick around for a while, see some other streams if you want. I'll be back on Monday to continue new art for Spelljammer. And yeah, see you guys tonight or Monday. Laters.